call this meeting of the Crew Town Council to order. Please stand with me. A moment of silence. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take seats. Do we have any delegations from the public at this time? Then we'll move on to the consent calendar. Matters in the consent calendar considered routine and will be approved by one motion. Any item can be removed from the calendar at the request of a member of council and may be voted on separately. You have the minutes of the town council meeting held on 10 September 2018, the bill sheet, and you now have additions before you to review. And I will entertain a motion. We also need a motion to correct.
I don't have reservation,
the bill
okay.
sheets, and that is part of your additions.
Mayor, I move that we accept the consent calendar and the corrections to the August and September bill sheets as written.
We have a motion to approve the consent calendar and the motion to correct the bill sheets as written. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by like sign. Motion carries. We now go to the town manager's report.
Well, as most of you know, the tropical storm Michael wreaked a little havoc in the town. I guess that's an understatement, but I think all in all, we were very lucky. I don't think it was anywhere near what was forecasted. It was much worse in my opinion. I remember Isabel, and I believe this one was worse as far as down trees and damage. That was the biggest issue we had. Of course, the roadways were flooded during the event. We did sustain some damage due to the trees falling at our wastewater treatment plant, but it did not affect the operations. We had a large tree fall on our influent station, and that did some damage, which they got the tree off today and covered it up. We're going to have to call in somebody to fix that and file an insurance claim on that. We had an issue at the water plant as well. We're not really 100% sure what happened, but it caused concern enough for us to shut the plant down and issue that. Y'all probably got a notice of water restriction. Basically what that meant was that we didn't send any water to town, so everything in town was okay. Restrictions were so that they could get the plant cleaned back up again. It basically flushed it and started over, and took a little while for time to build back up. I think 6 o'clock Saturday night, Tiffany issued code red and we released the restrictions, so we didn't have any issues with that. Right now, well, they also mentioned 2 very large trees down at the cemetery. Not really sure about damage yet because they're still in the process of cleaning that up. Might be some stones that were knocked off. But other than that, it's just basically a cleanup situation, 2 very large oaks. They've been going through priorities. It may be this week before they clear the cemetery, and then we're able to assess that damage. I want to mention that town crews worked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday diligently to help clean up as much as they could, and the plant employees worked around the clock to take care of the town. And as everybody else knows, there's a large amount of debris that needs to be cleaned up around town. We ask citizens' patience and understanding as it may take weeks to clear up all of the debris. Again, it's prioritized, and we get to it as we can. As I always do, and I'll do it again, I like to thank the town employees and the police department. They did their normal outstanding job. I went out some during the storm, but actually the first time I can remember that I was not comfortable riding around. I went home. But I did see the police out, the fire department was out, everybody was out doing what they could to help. I appreciate everything they did. Been talking about the meeting, or talking about a meeting with, up at VCBR to discuss the water situation. Phil got that set up for me, and I guess we're still on, I haven't heard.
Wednesday, that's right.
Yeah. Myself, Tony, and John Ricco we met with our consultant on Thursday to discuss the situation and what we face with the projected needs of VCBR. We don't know exactly what they are. We've heard numbers. Hope we'll find out when we meet on Wednesday. We do know the numbers that are projected for the Lubbock Stone situation. We've got those to plug in, and honestly, if we get what I'm thinking we're going to get, we're going to be pushed to the limit. As y'all know, they're only 24 hours in a day. They're running 22 now. So any increase at all is going to be hard to deal with. We've also got another number that we have to keep an eye on, and that's a maximum production number that we cannot exceed, period, per Department of Health. And we're not close to that, but we're starting to look at it. If you average 800,000 gallons per day for 3 consecutive months at any particular time, they require a plant upgrade, which could get into the billions. So we've got to be careful about that now. Right now, we're pretty far away from that, but again, we're starting to look at it. The real numbers, right now we're pumping about 500,000 gallons a day on average, working 20 to 22 hours. We're looking at an anticipated increase of 120,000 gallons a day based on what we've heard. So we're still within parameters, but we're running out of time as far as the number of hours to operate, and secondly, as always, supply is always an issue. We had a good summer, as y'all know. We can't always count on that. So I think we're going to open the discussion Wednesday and get more information, and then go from there based on what they tell us. But, I am concerned about it. There's just very little room for error. And we do have things that happen, like the other day. If you shut down, or things go wrong and they have to clean filters, or do whatever they have to do, and cause us not to be able to produce, then we don't really want to be looking over our shoulder the whole time. So I hope we come up with some ideas and possible solutions to this problem. And I'll let y'all know more about that. So that's all I have.
The guts of the water plant. I know we do regular maintenance, but I mean, everything isn't, we don't have any fear of anything breaking at some point, right?
Nothing other than normal usage. Occasional things are wrong. The plant is old,
Okay.
75, 4 years old.
Are you gonna be at the meeting on Wednesday? Okay, I will be there as well.
See, we've maintained the buildings. That's pretty much the only thing we've really maintained, other than, some pumps and all.
Replacing pumps along the line. This thing gets tricky because and I'm anticipating, I know that I probably shouldn't do that, but they'll have their engineers sitting in there, and they'll probably have information on what kind of system we have. They'll recommend that we can amp our pumps up and we can pump more water faster. Yeah, you can turn your pumps up a little bit, but there's so many other things that go along with that you've got to think about. Increased pressure on the lines. That line from Crew, as I've told y'all, is over 100 years old, and we don't think, we being the Tonys and the Johns that work the system all the time, they don't think the system can stand that. So we're going to try to get away from that suggestion. There's also a way to speed up the production process, but when you do that, you jeopardize quality, and I don't want to do that either. So that's not to say that it wouldn't be within the parameters to send to town, but we don't want to start having taste and odor issues like we've had in the past. I'm just not really willing to do that. So hopefully we'll come up with some type of solution, but we don't know their number yet. They're gonna use some non-potable water, a system where they'll run it through their commodes, that meaning water that can't be, it's not drinkable, not our water, it's gonna come from wells, so we need to. But we have heard a 60,000 gallon a day increase that they've authorized at their sewer plant. So they're gonna anticipate that much of an increase over there. So we've got some numbers, we're just trying to crunch them all together.
Are there any questions for the town manager from anybody?
Couple questions. With the trees in the cemetery, where are these flies coming from is another question,
Well,
but,
there was one nest too.
with the trees, if there are damaged headstones, is that part of perpetual care that we provide?
No,
Okay.
but that's a good question.
Okay.
We were talking about that today, and obviously, it's gonna come up, somebody's gonna have to take care of them. It's not part of perpetual care, and ordinarily, I would just say that, whoever owns the plots have to have it fixed on their own. They may have some type of lifetime warranty. I know they do on the purchase of the stone, but I don't know about something like this. We can't do it, so we have to get someone to come in and do it.
And during the storm, how was the water, the issues that we've had in the past?
We had issues.
Okay.
We had issues, about 6.5 to 7.5 inches of rain, and,
Yeah.
I can't.
Everyone had issues, I
Everybody
know, it's just
had issues, I mean, no system can stand.
Right, no, absolutely.
that kind of
I was just gonna say, if we didn't have issues, that would be really good.
Yeah, it would have. No, we could have issues, we reported everything that happened, and as we always do, and of course, I didn't hear anything back from DEQ and nowhere back to God. That's a clause that they have, so.
How's the damage at the airport?
Minor, there was a little bit of flooding inside, which we've got to figure out where that's coming from.
Will the insurance pick that up?
They could if we tried to be.
Okay.
I'll
You
tell
gotta remember, we're self-insured. You know,
I noticed something that probably, I know it wouldn't have made that big of a difference in this instance with as much rain, but up and down 460, the curbings, and I know in the past, VDOT's come and scooped all that overgrown grass and everything up. And I noticed a bunch of those storm drains, a lot of that,
What?
yeah.
you know, and I know with all the water, I mean, I was underwater down at my place. I mean, I had to go out in the backyard and salvage the pool cover, and I was standing in 1.5 feet of water.
Yeah, you're right,
But,
I
do
do
we,
think
do we notify them of that, or are they supposed to do that?
they do that, but we do notify them too.
They did it earlier this year.
Yeah, they've done it a couple times, really. But this was a situation, I think, more than I've ever seen. And
Yeah.
I had it actually coming over my curb in front of my house into my front yard. I've never seen that before. So I just think it was just so
Well,
much good.
I had the scanner on that night because I was terrified, and the fire department was actually having to make rescues
Yeah,
in vehicles in the town of Crook,
they were out in force.
and pulling people out of the cars that were stuck where the cars had stalled out.
Of course, they lost some life in Charlotte County.
Mm-hmm.
This was a serious situation, and of course, everybody knows what happened in Berkeley. I'm convinced that was a tornado. I saw the
It was verified.
It was
F1.
verified.
Yeah.
That was a little scary because we got the call that, you know how things are, the roof had collapsed and people were trapped inside the restaurant. That's not the case. So sometimes you just, you gotta
Yeah.
take a deep breath. The drop ceiling fell when they opened the door. Air, again, tornado, change in air, suction, they think, so it sucked that down. So that's what happened.
Any other questions for the town manager?
Just to piggyback off of the first question I was asked, we're taking care of the trees in the graveyard or just the damaged gravestones?
Trees.
Okay.
I mean, we're cleaning up all the trees, we're repairing the damage that we can see, because there was some, actually saw, logs, I guess you have to call them, sticks that went in the ground like 3 feet,
Okay.
which caused some concern, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But so far, so good.
All right, if there's no further questions, we're going to town attorney's report.
Yes,
How are
thank you. Thank you, doing well. Nothing very, I see on here that, you all are going to have an executive session for social real estate, so I would like to address something in that executive session as well. In addition, I do have, I noticed in here we had the 36-1051:1 with the rental inspections.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have a draft rental inspection ordinance for council members. I have a few hard copies here, but I also have it by email, so, if you all want me to, I can send it out.
Yes, ma'am, if you can do that.
Yes, I do. I
We'll take a
have
hard
it.
copy for the town manager's file, though, that we can include in the record.
Yes, sure, I'll be glad to do that. And then also, we still do need to update with, the new building code and the, fees. And that wouldn't be contingent on the rental inspection district, so maybe we could do that at our public hearing next month.
Okay.
And then that way we could get the, hopefully get the building inspector engaged
Okay,
and be able to move forward with that.
okay. So basically, we need to task you or ask you to draft up the public hearing.
And I already have the
Okay.
notice ready for you all, we just need to include, next month's date, if that's what you all wanna do.
Okay, any discussion? Y'all ready to have a public hearing on, well, they haven't read it yet, but I would assume you'll have a chance to read it.
yeah, I'd like a hard copy before you go.
Sure, that's good. I did the public hearings notices for the two simple ones, which is updating the, building code addition, which is one thing the building inspector wanted, and then also updating the fees that are passed through, and those are ready. I will be glad to distribute hard copies of the draft of the rental ordinance, rental inspection ordinance to everybody too.
Okay, so we need a motion to advertise the two administrative pieces.
I'll make a motion
Okay,
to advertise for a public hearing.
all right.
So these are for the fee
The fee and updating the, addition of the building code. Right now, what's referenced in here is the 2009 building code,
Okay.
and the building inspector had said that that
Needs to be updated.
needed to be updated. And we may even be able now to reference the 2015 building code. We had in here the 2012, and then we're gonna have to update it to the 2015
And then the third piece would be the,
rental inspection ordinance.
And that needs to be circulated so people can read it first.
Yes, now one thing I would say though is, you all probably need to read it and hold off on a public hearing for next month, because there's still just some things that I couldn't do, like the rental inspection districts.
Mhm.
It's a very odd thing, because the state code says you can't have just one rental inspection district that covers the whole town.
Mhm.
And so that may take some, council input, and I didn't feel like I was qualified to do that part of it.
Okay.
So could you do it in zones, like zone 1, 2, and 3?
I just
We-
don't
we-
know how you
you
do
break
it.
that up?
We have to draw them up. Council would have to draw them up, probably like you would the gerrymander or anything else.
That's what I'm trying to say, you
Yeah.
use zone 1 and zone 2.
So it's, two different public hearings, and the one is for the fees, the other one is for the ordinance. And you recommend keeping the ordinance until November, but we can do the fees next month?
Well, there's the fees, and then there's the update for the building code. So technically, that's two separate public hearings, since it's two separate ordinances.
Yeah, we
And
will.
then the third thing is the rental inspection districts, and I would recommend not
Yeah.
advertising that at this time, but you all looking at
We
it.
need to make that out. People need to be able to see them out.
Yes.
So we have, We have a motion on the floor to advertise a public hearing for the building code addition in the fees. The update for the addition would be the 2015 law.
I'm hoping we can go ahead and do the 2015, but I'll check with the building inspector to see if that's ready to go yet. If not, it'll be the 2012 until the 2015 is ready.
Okay, so either the 2012 or the 2015 edition. Wendy has made the motion, Ms. Bowen has made the motion. Do we have any, or a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Reed has made the second. Do we have any further discussion? With that in mind, all in favor say aye. All opposed by like sign. Motion carries. Okay. Anything else from the town attorney?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, when we get the other piece, we'll,
Yes.
we can convene and draw up the zone map and proceed with that. Are there any questions for the town attorney from members of council? All right, there are no questions for the town attorney. At this time, we have the mayor's report. I have just learned that Jim Stinson is going to have an operation on Wednesday, and we want you and the vice mayor and Jim to know you're in our prayers. If there's anything we can do, let us know. Okay.
He's having his knee replaced and it's long overdue.
Oh, really overdue.
Yeah, and I see Susan Gates just walked in, and I want to express, from the town of Cruz perspective, our condolences on the loss of your brother. He was a great soldier, served in Vietnam, and you have our prayers. Hurricane Michael, or Tropical Storm Michael, the town manager basically said everything that needs to be said about that, but I did want to point out Ms. Bowen's contribution. I have learned that when the power was lost at several of the restaurants, at least one of them, Bravo's, contacted you
Oh, yeah.
to use your freezer, because she's got a big freezer, a big walk-in freezer in a generator, and you allowed a local business, but you're in competition with technically, to move all their food to the freezer to save it, and until they could get power restored. And I mean, it just shows the greatness of a small town, of neighbor helping neighbor, and jumping out there. And I want to thank you for that, and personally, publicly commend you for that.
How did you do about that?
I'm an intelligence officer.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Okay.
Fire.
Most of that, I'm not gonna go through most of this is informational. The Nottaway County Board of Supervisors public hearing is on 18th of October, which is Thursday. Because of Jim's surgery, Councilman Reed has volunteered to speak for the town. And what I've got in your packet is a draft letter that if you concur, that's what will be read at the meeting. There's also a background paper, and what we were also going to do, if you concur as a council, we will have this sent over directly to the county tomorrow. I've got it dated for tomorrow. So if you concur with that, we will proceed. I cannot be there. I have a long-standing commitment in Tennessee that I've been committed to for about 6 months. I have to be there. Those of you that can make the meeting Thursday at 7 o'clock, it would be a good thing.
I'll be there.
And, okay, good. There's two of you, anyway. You're in Blacksburg. Can you be there?
I'll try.
Okay, all right, all right.
Need all the help I can get.
I got
Depends
you.
on which
I'll try.
route or which tree.
Thank you, and I will send Mr. Procyse a note basically explaining why Ms. Stinson and I cannot be there. And our
Could you
regrets.
drive her and I'll ride with you?
All right, okay. With that in mind, if you, is there any discussion on the letter? Do we need a motion or, general concurrence? It's very brief. It's a simple statement of fact, basically what we've said all along. Regurgitated from earlier items.
I move to approve the letter.
All right, Ms. Stinson has moved to approve.
Second.
And then we have Mr. Knight has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right. Councilman Miskovic also asked about workforce investment, or approached me about workforce investment, what we can do to help our local population. In general, I have been playing phone tag with Dr. Betty Adams, who is head of the SBHEC Workforce Investment Services, which services Nottaway County. Now, they're down in South Hill, I think. And she could not make it this month or in November, but she can make it in December, and she will come up and give us a briefing on the types of services they can provide our community, so we can help people find jobs and get the training that they need. And show us the other partnerships that are out there. They work very closely with SVCC in Alberta and Southside, so they're active, they're engaged, and there are just certain services that are out there that people don't know about, and by bringing her to council, that gives her a public forum that can be covered in the paper, but also educates us as a council on some of the services available to us. Wednesday at 10 o'clock, I will go to the BCBR meeting with Councilman Miskovic and the town manager to discuss the ward issue. Any questions for me? Regarding anything in the mayor's report? Very well. Go to committee reports, finance committee.
We're good.
Okay. Personnel.
We, Personnel Committee had a meeting with the Crew Police Chief and the Burkeville Police Chief in order to help facilitate better communication between the two. It went fine, and what end result became those two are going to get together for a weekly cup of coffee and serve kind of as an action report from the past week and see what could have been done better and things like that. That's about it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions for members of finance or the chairs of the Financial Personnel Committee? No questions? Community development?
I guess that's.
That's you?
I did go to the fire department meeting, and we discussed the hydrants. They do not have the manpower and the volunteers to be able to check the hydrants, test them. So they said they would be willing to train the town staff on how to test them, and also the paint colors.
Okay.
Evidently, half of our hydrants are too old for the new paint codes, so half of them are on the Petersburg system, the other half are on the state system.
What, they all need to be on state?
Well, they can't be, because the valves are different. So there are two different paint codes for different hydrants.
Now, is that consistent with what Mr. Reed had shown us from some of the other towns that?
Well, Petersburg is the only other town that uses some of the hydrants that we have in the town of Crew, from what I gather.
They're all railroad hydrants?
Yeah.
The
Okay.
old
Probably.
style, aren't they
old
on
style.
a 2-inch main? Is that the problem?
He didn't explain that, he just said the hookups are different.
Okay.
So that, therefore, they need different paint codes, but that they would work with the town employees on how to paint coat them and test them. They have apparatus to test the pressure.
So we just need to get our guys trained?
Yeah,
Okay.
their biggest concern really was the condition of a lot of the rental properties. They did respond to a call that had a upstairs, and several of the steps were missing. And if they had to go up there in a blind condition, somebody could have gotten seriously hurt.
Did they have a report on that? Will they file a report for us so we can have the details?
I can talk to them about that.
I would like
yeah.
to see the details, and I think that needs to go on the permanent record, that's why.
And then also, I want to work with them on getting Val and to come to the town maybe on a regular, like maybe a monthly basis, and work with the town more. They said they wanted to be included in the town a little bit more, and the communication could be better between them. They don't come out, basically, I think they want somebody to come to them, and it's gotta be met in the middle, you know. There was, a couple of the members were upset because they didn't get the privilege of the, town tags anymore. But I know that's nothing that can be addressed, and I also pointed out to them that we don't even get anything, so. So, but, I mean, they were happy that I showed up and
The bottom
that
line
the town is
is,
showing
they're
interest
gonna train our people, and then we're gonna go ahead and paint the hydrants,
and test them and repair what needs to be repaired.
okay? You good with that?
Waiting on them.
Okay,
We've been waiting on them.
okay.
Gotcha.
All right, so what we need to do is facilitate a training time.
What I'll do is I'll set up a meeting maybe.
Uh-huh,
I'll get with Wade and find out what time is best with like him and Tony, TJ maybe, and then get Val to come at the same time.
okay, with that in mind, then what we're gonna also do then is put on the next month's agenda, Mr. Reed's earlier proposal for the color scheme, because that's consistent with what the rest of these
Yeah,
other
this-
major counties are using. Since we're taking that over, then that's what we will do. And when we can,
Were they specific on that requirement? Is it the caps or the entire?
It's the caps,
Okay.
just the caps.
Want everybody to understand. when
Yeah,
they paint
they said what messed them up is when, you know, they had the paint,
Yeah.
at the contest. They said it was nice, but the
The
people
more
who
they're
painted
painting
them
over 'em and
painted the
then-
caps.
yeah, yeah,
And, because they were already coated, but the caps got painted.
okay. Does anybody need Mr. Reed's proposal we sent to them pre-transmitted, or do you, most of you have copies from before? Anybody? Just, all right, well, we'll put it in the package in there, and then that way you can review it again. Good. So, all we have to do is facilitate the training and engage.
And a meeting,
All right, and a meeting.
yes,
They want us to
which
come
I'm gonna work on.
They want us to come up there? They-
I'm gonna get him to come to town.
Okay, all right.
Anytime.
Well,
I'll make sure it happens.
Okay. Very good. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Bowman? All right, good. With that in mind, we move on to continuing business, and there were some things I was supposed to work on, and I have not had a chance, so I didn't put them on there. I've been busy.
It's okay.
Been running around a lot. So anybody have anything you want to talk about? Continuing. Okay, how about new business?
Mayor, I do have a few,
Outstanding.
probably brief pieces of new business.
What's new, huh?
Given the events of the last week, and discussions that we've had, I looked up some code section, regarding emergency management, for a locality, and, section 44-146.19, of the Code of Virginia, section 3 says, a coordinator of emergency management shall be appointed by the council of any town to ensure integration of its organization into the county emergency management organization. So we may want to consider appointing someone, you or the town manager, or
Okay.
someone who wants to take on that role.
I thought we appointed county administrator for that.
We do.
Well, the county administrator is the emergency coordinator for the county. The, one of the members of the Board of Supervisors this year, Sherman Vaughn, is the director of emergency management for the county. But in order to coordinate, we appoint someone to coordinate with Ronnie Rourke.
I also asked, for background, I asked Councilman Miskovic's got extensive background in emergency management, operations and whatnot. Asked him to look at some things from a town perspective. Because while the county is responsible overall, I don't want us to be, I don't want us to be shortchanged or not do something that we could do within our means. The book is in his office and it's sitting on the desk. If you're in town tomorrow, you can pick it up. Where you going back tonight, though?
No, I can pick it up Wednesday before we leave.
Okay, because it's sitting on his desk, if you would just take that and at your leisure, kind of see if something jumps out at you,
That'll work.
all right?
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna appoint Phil, or
Nobody right now.
I second that.
He just said he's got all the expertise.
That's what I heard, I didn't.
Well, we could, no, I mean, we can do that if that's what council wants to do.
I'll make the motion, appoint you.
Well, let's wait to see what
Yeah, let's-
recommendations he comes back with.
Let's hold off on that, because
Yeah.
Oh, I heard you spoke it right quick, and you
I don't
know.
know, he may have some other recommendations, there's a book's about that thick, and I just kinda want him to take a look at
It'll take him
it.
about 10 minutes to read it.
Okay,
Another piece of new business, Mayor. I was at the VML conference and there was some discussion on, I was discussing at lunch with a member of another local government on the benefits of working franchise agreements with cable companies for our benefit.
yeah,
Couple issues with that. Our franchise agreements, at least the one with Shentel, had expired last year. I'm not sure about the one with CenturyLink,
mhm,
and there is a new FCC proposal out that would greatly reduce our ability to get benefit from franchise agreements if and when that goes through. So I would recommend that the town manager, town attorney, you, whoever, potentially begin negotiating franchise agreements with the cable providers, and in doing so, see if we can't get any additional benefit. I've got the city of Lynchburg's franchise agreement that we can use as an example. Potential benefit may include increased service or increased quality or increased services, especially with broadband.
okay.
Does it include satellite?
I am not sure, but that's,
That's what's really killing this right now, as far as this is concerned for us.
I saw Amanda Chase, Senator Chase over the weekend, and she said that there was a proposal that VACO opposed that would allow the last mile to actually be installed by internet providers. But VACO opposed what was proposed because they wanted a cut. Basically, they wanted to treat it as a utility that could be taxed. My suggestion to her was, well, we have a Dillon rule, and you guys can, that basically holds the towns hostage. Why don't you pass a law at the state level that lets the towns make the decision? And in that way, the providers can come in, and we don't have to worry about, the whole,
absolutely.
fee thing, because they would have motivation to come in. at that
Right.
point.
But if it's a federal rule, then that would essentially supersede everyone else.
Okay, I don't know whether it's a federal rule or not. She talked as if it was an option of the state.
Okay.
And and the counties wanted to make it a utility for, basically taxing purposes.
Okay.
And I'm of the opinion if you let free enterprise come in, you'll have enough providers wanting to locate and grow in other small towns to get the business.
Sure.
Okay.
But then do we need a motion to authorize you, the town manager, and the town attorney to begin negotiations?
If it franchises up, I think that's just normal procedure.
Okay.
To do that, I don't think we need you think you don't need a motion, I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, no motion needed. Good enough.
Okay, next up on my list, again, I was at the VML conference, brought up the topic of the local Christmas ornaments each year. I did pick up the ornaments for the towns of Blackstone and Burkeville and Ottawa County from previous years. Unfortunately, ours was not on the table of ornaments. They said that some may have broken from the governor's office to VML to the conference. And I suspect that they have a box that they forgot somewhere because there were some other localities looking for theirs as well. So if I see ours, I'll pick it up. But they are looking for ornaments for next year.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to.
We do have,
Local artists
Local artists.
have done.
okay, okay.
Maybe ours
You mean
were
this
so
year?
good, somebody kept it.
Exactly. Someone stole ours because they enjoyed it so much.
This year.
This year, that's correct. So if we want to have an ornament on the governor's Christmas tree this year, then we may want to consider.
Who made this one, the one that's missing?
We did a contest.
We did a contest.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rogers, who won.
Adams.
Who was it last time?
Wasn't it the Adams girl right here on the corner?
Maybe it was. Debbie Elliott did one time for the county.
county.
I'm trying to remember
We ought to be getting pictures of those. I mean, we really ought to photograph them so we got a permanent record, I guess.
So we do have a photograph of the one that we have, and
Mhm. Can you circulate that? I haven't seen it.
sure.
Okay.
who. How did we run the contest? Was it in the paper and what did we do?
I think we had a flyer up at the town office too.
Gave a gift certificate.
And then we ended up
Mhm.
going and begging people to do it.
And we did. We gave a gift certificate.
It's kind of a first and second place.
So is that something we want to do, and if so, how do we want to execute?
I would say if the original individual could do it again, I suppose, and send it.
She got a prize last time.
She did. Well,
Yeah,
tell her the governor will pay for it.
Just put it out there and see if anybody wants to
You
do
know,
it.
we do have quite a number of talented people.
Okay, I'll put it on the Facebook page and maybe draft a quick press release. or
Wonder
something.
if, you advertise it at the school, at the art class.
Mm. Yeah,
I mean, that would be the best.
maybe we ought to do it for the town Christmas tree.
We'll tell them Christmas.
Exactly.
Sally and I did one with the students, and we put a tree up at the community center, and we had a party for everybody. Sally and I drank a lot of punch that day. We did get ornaments. But we sat there a Saturday morning drinking punch and eating cookies.
That's what the garden club was.
No. that
We all the
was
only
just-
two that showed up.
Pretty much. No, I take it back. Shirley Dalton showed up late.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and advertise and see if someone wants to do that, and, okay.
Actually, yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't limit it to one, we'd take all we can get, and I'm sure we can find a place for them. And
Sure.
In fact, there's nothing that says I can't put a Christmas tree up in the office, is it? No law against that,
Not yet?
We used to always have one.
Not yet.
man.
We used to always have one, but somebody threw all my decorations away.
Who threw all your decorations away?
Well, it was that little short tree, wasn't it?
Mhm. It wasn't very pretty, but I made it pretty.
We'll have to remedy that.
Okay.
All right.
We'll get you one on Black Friday.
Yeah. Oh, that's already pre-lit and decorated.
There you go.
Another piece of new business, Mayor. I was
BOL?
no, but I was considering the different resources that we could use in town.
For,
Lots of things in general, but planning and grant writing, things like that.
right, yes.
And it occurred to me that Nottaway County is not a member of our local PDC, planning district.
Correct.
We're one of the only counties who's not a member of a regional planning district. I imagine the town of Krug could join our planning district and have access to the planning district resources if we want.
Was that the Heartland?
It used to be called Heartland, it's now the Commonwealth Regional Council. I would just want to throw that out there and see if we want to invite someone from, well, first to see if we can join as a town. And if so, if we wanted to invite someone from that planning district to come in and talk to us a little bit about the services they offer and what we would need to give in return.
Can you make a phone call to those folks to find out, you know,
See,
just get the pros and cons?
what towns are involved in it now?
So the planning district now,
Farmville, Common, Prince Edward.
Amelia, Buckingham, Charlotte, Lunenburg, and Prince Edward counties.
They're all counties, all the county governments are,
Right. Our county government does not want to be in that.
because we're, say, affiliated with.
Well, see, all that happened when they disbanded Piedmont Plan. They went to Heartland, but that was caused by Cumberland wanting to pretty much change everything, get rid of Ed Howe. People, yeah.
I think it would be worth our while to find out why the county's opposed to it.
Well, they was, because of what I just
You
said.
know, I mean, really.
Yeah,
I think if I remember correctly, they didn't feel like Basically, they were getting the money's worth.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
The general consensus was it was too Farmville centric.
Cause see,
I
Blackstone
do
had a
remember that.
representative, Blackstone had a representative, Channel Creek had a representative.
Yeah, Piedmont Planning was different.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought they were excellent.
oh, they were, Ed did a good job.
But if there are, if they do provide resources like grant writing and planning and
It
such,
doesn't hurt
we
to
can
ask.
tap into some of that,
Yeah.
might make it worth our while, even if they make decisions that we don't.
So I agree with you, there's been change of leadership up there, and there's changing dynamics, and it doesn't hurt to ask the question and just kind of
What,
do the fact gathering.
Commonwealth,
yeah,
Commonwealth Regional Council.
well, the bottom line is, what does it cost to join?
It's not on their website, so I'm not sure.
And that's what,
It's like,
Probably
the
depending
town,
on-
the town was paying back, was paying close to $3,500 a year, the best I can
the town manager will find out, and we'll,
Yes.
yeah, and then they'll do the fact gathering and see.
You won't find out what it's gonna cost, too,
Yes, sir.
you might not get,
And last thing on my list, Mayor, our next meeting is scheduled for Veterans Day.
Yes, sir.
Do we want to reschedule?
Okay.
yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we can do Tuesday.
That's an off there, right? I can't do Tuesday, I have to teach.
Wednesday.
Wednesday is fine with me, what about,
How about the following Monday?
sir? Yeah, sure. Wednesday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday the 14th, sir? Okay, what about Monday the 19th?
I do got it, because I got the prayer meeting on
All right, so Monday, the 19th will be the town council meeting.
Wednesday. It's supposed to eat it.
Yeah, y'all make me miss the second country club board meeting in a row.
Can we do it? Can we do it
There's
any
the
earlier?
third- there's
And the only
the
reason I
third.
ask is bills. I gotta get bills paid.
You
See,
mean
that's
on the
the
19th?
problem. We're a week
We're gonna get bills
behind.
How about Monday the fifth?
How about us, can you poll votes on,
Well, wait a minute, no, we can't hold those. What about the 5th?
How about the fifth?
I can probably do
Fifth is good.
Fifth works.
All right, 5th it is.
We'll just need to reach out to Angela Stewart and let her know that we'll have a meeting on fifth, because the
It's the
sixth
night
is
before the
election
election
day.
day.
That's true.
They
But-
won't have a problem. They'll have everything like they've done in the past.
Yeah,
They just lined it up over here.
So Tuesday, is that right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Monday the fifth.
Monday the 5th.
Monday.
Thank you.
good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
That's all I've got, Mayor.
All right, I want to thank Mr. Miskovic for his diligence in attendance at Virginia Municipal League meetings. I personally can't stand long meetings and these big social events, and you really, but you have to show the flag. You really have to show the town flag wherever you go, whatever organization you go to. And you've done a tremendous job doing that. You're still on the legislative committee, correct? Okay, and that is really, it's a good thing that we have somebody on that legislative committee because he has a vote, amongst other things. All right, any questions?
I have it may be a bad question, but
There's no bad questions, only bad answers, right?
the Main Street program,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure y'all probably talked about that before, have you not?
I think the town manager's got some background on that.
Is there a reason why we don't aren't
Yeah.
in it?
As I recall, you had to have a certain amount, or a certain percentage of participation by the owners of the buildings. And I can't remember the exact percentage, but we could not attend.
Okay, gotcha.
And that required funding as well,
They
right?
will have to put in like 20% and 80% to cover
Oh, yeah,
whatever, when they wouldn't do,
gotcha.
we didn't have enough participation. Am I right, Tiffany?
Yes.
All right.
Points of personal privilege, Mr. Reed. No. Mr. Owen.
No.
Mr. Bradley. Ms. Stinson.
I have no privileges.
Mr. Knight.
I did just want to give an update on the legislative proposal that we talked about last meeting. I spoke with Delegate Wright a couple times, and also sent the information to Senator Ruff. And on the advice of both Delegate Wright and VNL, Michelle Gowdy with VNL and I are meeting with Governor's Office staff in the next couple months to see if there's, just get their thoughts. And then go from there.
Refresh me real quick.
On,
That is the legislative proposal on state facility closure.
Right, right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right.
Oh, I did forget to say, the town manager and I have updated the comprehensive plan, but I've been so involved with Jim's knee, I forgot to bring in stuff, so next time. But we've done, accomplished quite a bit.
Outstanding.
Good job, thank you, Ian.
Outstanding. November 11th is the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War. I feel like we need to have something, I don't know. Do you have church bells?
And we couldn't, because we're in town, inside town too.
You what?
We're inside town, so we couldn't have any sound ordinances.
Town ordinance does not allow church bells at all.
It's a sound ordinance. If I'm
Not
not mistaken.
specifically, but it's loud noise.
I feel like we could
I think we
make
did.
an exception for
Yeah,
church
yeah.
bells.
Police do.
They used to.
Used to.
Let me check on that though, because I think it would be appropriate if we had all the
Do
churches.
you have a bell you could ring? If it-
No,
Oh, well,
details. I mean, I can get out there and do
that
it.
won't make too much noise.
Do that at
Be all right
town
with
hall.
Yeah.
The fire siren,
That's
Yeah,
broke.
we could do that. It's broke.
And it's broke. One of them is.
The one at the town hall is.
Let me check on that. I might,
We should probably get that fixed before then anyway.
yeah,
yeah.
that's what I was gonna say.
Maybe.
Mayor, since that was brought up, I know it's something that I've heard before, can we revise our noise ordinance to exclude church bells at given times,
Yeah.
like noon and,
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
We
can
sure
we,
can.
would anyone be opposed to that, or having a public hearing at the next meeting to?
I see nobody shaking their head no.
Well,
I'm in favor of it too.
Or
It
do we
opens up
wanna,
a can of worms though, because then it's, all right, well, who else is gonna play
That's right,
There,
and that's why it was changed before.
music, bells, whatever? Not that that's a bad thing, I'm just bringing it up.
That is why it was changed.
The city Baptist Church played a chant.
When it got to be a technicality, it was when people were arguing if you can ring the bells, then why can't I play the music?
because the
I
bells,
know where that
bells
is.
aren't-
We could word it in such a way that church bells would be allowed at 9:45 to 9:46.
You can do anything you want to, I guess, Tessa tells you can, so.
Yeah, we need to be careful about how we word it though, because we don't wanna have any issues with the First Amendment.
Why don't we contact Blackstone? Because they allow it.
Well,
Well,
then I
what?
can find that out.
Just
Okay.
church bells?
All right, can you
What
do
else?
that, research that, and
Yeah, can
some
you-
ordinance that would be very specific and unique to churches for a certain time on Sundays?
Yes.
And if we
They
don't
go
have,
during the week too.
They
just,
did one like
I
12 o'clock.
thought it was like noon every day.
12 o'clock and 6 o'clock.
I guess the ordinance could just include the language, a church or a religious place could use a bell. That's it.
Well, see, what they were
Right.
doing, they were playing, it won't just a ding, ding, ding.
Oh,
I know.
They were
I
playing a song, like a bell song, like,
Yeah.
like hymn.
And there's other
Wasn't it-
religions too that,
When there was a church where AJ's Produce was and they put the speakers out, that was probably when it was, correct?
If I'm not mistaken, I've heard that.
You have
Because I was
Yeah, 'cause it
running
was at that one
Exxon
place.
as well
Okay.
at that
Church?
time.
Yeah,
It was a church at
one
that
part.
time and they would put the speakers out and play their sermon and
okay.
their
okay,
music.
Okay, so let's let the town attorney suggest what would be a reasonable accommodation for.
Okay.
We might also look at the duration.
Talk to the town of Blackstone attorney.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
see what
yeah.
she has to say about it.
Right.
And the town of Cambridge allows it too, so I can talk to her as well.
They write the purple.
All right,
Okay.
with that on mind, we've returned to public comment. On any public comments at this time? Hearing none, we move on to an executive session. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session consistent with Virginia State Code 2.2-3711A, subsections 1 for personnel, subsection 3 for real property.
so
Second.
Mr. Reed and Mr. Knight. Any further discussion discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, my like sign. Motion carries. At this time, I need a motion to certify that we only discussed in executive session those items authorized for which we went into executive session, which was personnel real estate.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Knight. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Bradley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I need an individual poll vote. Mr. Reed,
I certify.
Ms. Bowman,
Yep. Certified.
I certify.
I certify.
Mr. Bradley,
I certify.
Ms. Stetson,
I certify.
Mr. Knight. Okay, Mr. Fiscal.
Yes, I certify.
No action being required. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Knight. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Stetson, do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.